America needs a 5-point plan to meet this moment, to help our ally Israel, and to strengthen our own future. The very first thing we need to do is rescue the American hostages.
Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov, on the other hand, urged Israel and the Palestinians to halt all hostilities and violence and urged both parties to enter into dialogue.
Мы подтвердили нашу позицию о неприемлемости любого насилия, о неприемлемости нанесения ущерба и причинения смерти мирным гражданам, на какой бы стороне ни находились, неприемлемости взятия в заложники женщин и детей. И Лига, и Российская Федерация параллельно, практически в унисон, призвали к немедленному прекращению.
Meanwhile, the Arab League secretary stated that the recent escalation of violence between Palestinians and Israel is rooted in Israel's long-standing control.
مشكلة الفلسطينيين لم تبدأ من اليوم ولا يمكن أبداً اجتزاء التصعيد الحالي من سياقه الأوسع وهو استمرار الاحتلال والقضاء على أي أفق مستقبلي يمكن للشعب الفلسطيني أن يحقق من خلاله تطلعاته السياسية في دولة مستقلة على حدود 67.
In a joint statement, on the other hand, Bulgarian, Greek and Romanian PMs have condemned Hamas attack.
Αντισή μας σκιάζει βεβαίως η τρομοκρατική επίθεση που δέχθηκε το Ισραήλ στο έδαφος του. Όπως η Ευρώπη και όλος ο πολιτισμένος κόσμος καταδικάζουμε τις πραγματικά φρικτές εικόνες που είδαμε με πυρά εναντίον αμάχων, με απαγωγές αθώων πολιτών, ακόμα και με περιστατικά.
Israel formally declared war on Sunday and gave the green light for significant military steps to retaliate against Hamas for Saturday's surprise attack. Agency report for Republic TV.
We get you a ground report from Jerusalem to Gaza, where an Israeli journalist gives his take on the war. Listen in and take a look.
Good afternoon. As you can see here, I'm on a train, a full-length train that is almost deserted, no one on it. A train from Jerusalem to headed south. Normally this train would stop, the final stop would be Sderot, but that is the town where most of the fighting was yesterday. So the final stop is Ashkelon, one town before, and even that I can't reach because there has been a terror attack from terrorists who remained from yesterday. There's been a terror attack along the road. They hijacked a vehicle and started shooting, and now they've closed down the road and the train tracks. So I'm stranded on this train, trying to head south to cover from the front line. The question, why didn't Israel see it coming? This is a question everyone's asking. Well, of course, this has been correctly pointed out. This is like a Yom Kippur war movement, when Yom Kippur moment, when nobody thought this could happen. This was the nightmare that everyone wanted to wish away, that could never happen, and it happened with full force. Yesterday was a holiday, so naturally the troops were, many had gone home for the holiday. It was the final day of the 3-week holiday season. Also, some troops had been moved to Judea and Samaria, to the territories, to cover threats there, so troops were spread thin. Also, the command base of the southern front was conquered by the terrorists. One of the first locations they conquered, so the command chain was broken. Beyond that, on a more fundamental level, there were too many people who had an interest to say this could never happen, and we should continue doing what we were doing, and nothing bad would ever happen. It was similar thinking to the Kav Bar-Lev, the Bar-Lev line, thinking of the Yom Kippur War, or the Maginot line in France in World War II. There will, without any doubt, there will be a national inquiry into this when the war is over. But now it has just begun. There are over 300 people killed on the Israeli side, almost 2,000 injured, some critically. Many hostages and captives were taken, including young women and babies and elderly women and anything you can imagine. Right now, Israel is amassing troops along the Gaza border, tens of thousands of troops. Everyone here in Israel knows someone who's been drafted. I have people in my own family, friends of course. As the names are coming out of people who have been already killed in yesterday's fighting, I recognize, at least some of the small communities where they were from, if not the names, thank God so far. This attack, no doubt, has been planned over a long time. They had been, gathering intelligence on Israeli positions, which by nature are stationary along the border. The security along the border had been lax. People had been allowed to come up right in front of the fence, whereas previously they had been stopped, by warning shots and rubber bullets, 300 meters before the fence. In recent months, they had been making all sorts of maneuvers, which Israelis deemed to be provocations, but apparently they were actually drills for this. This was the Palestinian Islamic Jihad, and the Hamas were actually doing drills for the events that happened yesterday. So there was a lot of intelligence gathered for this, and many people, like I said, had a vested interest in saying this couldn't happen on the Israeli side. Right now, it's a question what the objective of there will, without any doubt, be a ground invasion of Gaza. It's a question what the objectives will be. Prime Minister Netanyahu had done his best, and it's not only him, it's both sides of the political aisle, both the political right and the political left, with the exception of the ideological right and the far right beyond them, had both wanted Hamas to control the Gaza Strip as a responsible force, mildly accountable. But now we see where this leads, and the vast majority of Israeli leadership are fed up with this. One objective could be to conquer the Gaza Strip, and that way it would be easy to explain what victory looks like when Israel reconquers the Gaza Strip. That would be very difficult. It would take months, maybe, to do. There would, without any doubt, be tens of thousands of armed Gazans, Hamas operatives and Palestinian Islamic Jihad operatives killed in battle, even before we speak about civilians. And it's a question of how long, whether that's the objective that Prime Minister Netanyahu has set out to achieve, or he has some other goals other than that. It's unclear if we conquer the Gaza Strip, who will then rule it? What will they do with it? 2 million people who are very hostile at this point. They grow up with extreme incitement against Israel from a very young age. And it's unquestioned what other goals could be for this operation. And it's unclear how long Prime Minister Netanyahu could withstand the international pressure. As of now, the foreign powers have come out supporting Israel. But as the as Israel will mount its counterattack, and the casualties will undoubtedly grow steeply on the Palestinian side, it's unclear how long people will be able to withstand the international pressure.
And our senior executive editor Abhishek Kapoor spoke to Israel Consul General to West India, Kobi Shoshani, about the current war situation. Listen in.
Well, welcome friends. We are joined in by Consul General of Israel in Mumbai, Mr. Kobi Shoshani, and very good evening to you, sir. Please share with the viewers here in India, what's the status of war that began with the Hamas attack on Israel on Saturday?
Right now we are more than 48 hours after the brutal attack, surprise attack, declaration of war of the Hamas organization against the state of Israel. Right now we control the south part of Israel, although there are several incidents in the last hour with very small groups in the south part of Israel. This is the current situation. After 48 hours, the Israeli special forces control the south part of Israel. That's the first part. The second part, that is there is an airstrike of the Israeli Air Force in Gaza Strip in a very massive way, and it's going to be continue and strengthening day by day.
Right, and Mr. Soshani, you know, the pictures we have been getting, one picture which is particularly indicative of the kind of preparation that would have gone is the kind of high-tech equipment of war Hamas has been using, and the kind of control room, for example, the pictures of which they themselves released. What, according to you, or who, according to you, could have facilitated this kind of tech upgrade for a terror organization like Hamas?
First of all, we saw the arrangements before that, and there is a lot of money coming up to the Gaza Strip from various terrorist activities by several countries that we know. Then this technology is actually all the time upgraded. We have to run and to be fast and first to every technology and to update our system all the time. And I have to tell you in a very frank way, we were surprised a little bit, but the systems still work and still give an answer in a very large numbers of missiles coming up, and it's a very good. I think the state of the art. I think the best in the world in my point of view, and it give a solution in a very high percentages.
But Ambassador, who could be supplying this equipment to Hamas? Is it clear? Is it really Iran, or is it somebody else? Because there are reports that some of the war equipment might have leaked from Ukraine, and actually it's NATO equipment which the Hamas have.
Abhishek, it's a very complicated situation because during the last few years there is a competition between these terror groups and Israel. Which technology who is going to intercept, and what is the way to run away from this interception. Then in my point of view, I think that they learned some of the system. We upgraded already the system, we make some changes, and right now we are back to very high percentages of success of interception. Then it's a quite long, if you're asking about the money and technology, I assume that it's coming from cooperation with the various groups in Gaza Strip. Of course, the Hezbollah in the north, and the channels and the steps going to Iran as well. I don't think other possibilities are relevant right now.
All right, and then my next question would be, Mr. Soshani, that you know, you think Israel is going to make sure this time that Hamas is not just pinned down, but then effectively eliminated? The kind of terror attack they have committed on Israel, you think that this is the end game and it should not sustain for long?
I think that our Prime Minister Netanyahu make it in a very clear. Two statements was very, very important. It's not only a legal status or a declaration. Hamas started a war against Israel, and we declare right now a war against this organization. When we say war, it's a war by all means. They are going to pay the price for the criminal war that they started against civilians, against kids, against women, against elderly people, and I tell you more than that. They touch our historical nerves, and they touch in such a way, and I saw some photos of elderly people that passing the Holocaust in the Second World War, going in a very brutal way into Gaza Strip. This is something that the retaliation going to be very severe. Then declaration of war, and the Prime Minister today said that this retaliation going to change the Middle East, and of course he has the full support of the whole country. What we are going to do in order to bring a new complete Middle East. What's happened in the last 2 days was a brutal against the international law, and we will retaliate in a very extreme way.
Right. Obviously, this is going to change Middle East and its politics for a long time to come. But Mr. Soshani, I have a couple of questions on India-Israel as well. How many Indians are really stuck there in the war zone, and have they been taken care of? Are you getting some reports, some connections, some calls from the families here? And how have you taken care of them?
First of all, in the normal days, we have around 100,000 people, Indian people in Israel. That's the normal day. We have students, we have foreign workers, we have tourists, and of course we have businessmen as well. This is in a normal day in Israel. I have to say that right now, according to my information, no Indian was injured during this attack, and your embassy in Tel Aviv dealing with that in a fantastic way. I spoke to the Minister of Foreign Affairs last night, and he said that the Minister of Foreign Affairs and him personally will take responsibility of every foreign, doesn't matter if he's Indian or non-Indian, and to take care of that. He will, if he wants, he can fly back home. Right now, I know that we have some students in Tel Aviv, in Israel, especially in the center of Israel. All of them are okay. As far as I know to this moment, some of them went back already to India. Even we have some Bollywood stars that were in Israel. It was a festival 2 weeks ago. It was a festival of films, but Nusrat already came back to Israel and safely back to India safely, and I'm happy with that. As far as I know, no Indian injured, and we have some Indians still live in Israel, and they right now very, very safe. Right,
and Ambassador, Prime Minister Modi was one of the first world leaders to condemn the terror attack by Hamas and expressed his support for Israel in its hour of grief and this challenge that has come to Israel's national security and in fact Israel's existence. How has been India's support and sentiment in support of Israel in the last 48 hours, according to you?
First of all, the tweet of Prime Minister Modi was in such a clear voice, and it makes us very, very happy. It makes me personally very, very happy, and it makes all our institution here in India very happy, and of course our Prime Minister and the whole country. Why? Because Prime Minister Modi is a figure, international figure, and his clear voice was made in a very sensitive way, show the friendship between our beloved state. The second thing is that all the leaders of the world, I'm talking about President Biden, and all the leaders of Europe, make a distinction between the good state, which India is part of it, with the moral and democratic states that give support to Israel and its right to defend herself. This is the most important thing for us, to get such a support from a leader like Modi and like others that support the state of Israel to the right to defend herself, and this is the most important. We don't need right now any military support. We don't need any financial support. What we need is a moral support, and Prime Minister Modi make it in a very fantastic way, and I really appreciate it.
Right, right. Of course, Ambassador Kobi Soshani, India and Israel were connected at their heart during the 26/11 terror attacks in Mumbai, and you are in Mumbai. And similarly, we are now connected at our hearts when Israel has been attacked in the Negev desert by Hamas. So on that note, thank you so much for joining us, sharing your thoughts on the ongoing war in Israel. And India, of course, stands against terror and in support of Israel in this war on terror. Thank you so much for joining us.
Well, in a stern warning to Hamas, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has said that though Israel did not start this war, but it will finish it. He's also equated Hamas with the terrorist group ISIS. As part of its retaliation against Hamas, Israel has mobilized 300,000 troops. This is the largest mobilization since 1973's Yom Kippur War, where Israel had called up about 400,000 reservists. The IDF has confirmed that over 900 Israelis have been killed in the war so far, and over 2,616 have been injured.
Israel is at war. We didn't want this war. It was forced upon us in the most brutal and savage way. But though Israel didn't start this war, Israel will finish it. Once the Jewish people were stateless. Once the Jewish people were defenseless. No longer. Hamas will understand that by attacking us, they've made a mistake of historic proportions. We will exact a price that will be remembered by them and Israel's other enemies for decades to come. The savage attacks that Hamas perpetrated against innocent Israelis are mind-boggling, slaughtering families in their homes, massacring hundreds of young people at an outdoor festival, kidnapping scores of women, children, and elderly, even Holocaust survivors.
Now, Israel is hitting back hard against the Hamas. The war between Israel and Hamas has left a massive trail of destruction across Israel and the Gaza city. Here's what's happened in the last 24 hours.
As Israel-Hamas enters day 4 today, at least 900 Israelis have been massacred. Hundreds held hostages by Hamas, and several are injured. There have been vast destruction after both the sides launched a barrage of missiles on one another. Buildings were reduced to a rubble in Israel's Abu Ghosh after it was hit by a rocket fired from the Gaza Strip. Israeli airstrikes hit a seaside neighborhood in Gaza City, leveling a mosque and damaging nearby residential apartments. Over 100 Hamas launched massive airstrikes, with Hamas issuing open threats to execute hostages publicly if Israel attacks civilians in Gaza. The long-standing conflict between West Bank and Israel has now exploded. Agency report, Republic TV.
Now, the Israeli Defense Minister Yoav Gallant has declared a complete siege on Gaza, threatening to shut off electricity and restrict the entry of food and fuel.
In the major action, Israel's Defense Minister Yoav Gallant has ordered a complete siege on Gaza. He has said that authorities would cut electricity and block the entry of food and fuel.
אנחנו מטילים מצור מוחלט על העיר עזה. אין חשמל, אין מזון, אין מים, אין דלק. הכל סגור. אנחנו נלחמים בחיות אדם ואנחנו נוהגים בהתאם.
Israel and Egypt have imposed various levels of blockades on the territory since Hamas seized power from rival Palestinian forces in 2007. Gallant and Israel was at war with human animals. This comes more than 2 days after Hamas launched a surprise attack from Gaza on southern Israel. Israel also released new aerial footage of its bombardment of suspect positions in Gaza Strip. Meanwhile, Italian Foreign Minister Antonio Tajani said his country is working with Arab partners to ensure that women, children and elderly hostages held by Hamas militants are evacuated from the Gaza Strip via humanitarian corridors.
Stiamo seguendo anche tutte